Thank you, Regina. It is good to be back on one of these Marketing Experiments web clinics. It's been a little while since we had one of these. Our last web clinic was live from the MarketingSherpa 2016 Summit, and as you can see on the screen right now, here's our call for speakers for the next summit that's come on up. MarketingSherpa is just doing some phenomenal, it's one of our sister research companies here at MECLABS. And it's doing some phenomenal research in the industry, going out and finding marketers like yourself doing amazing things. And so it was a great event, great web clinic. I need to go ahead and get power to the clicker here. One of the things that we're going to be, as this team is setting me up with a clicker that works, today we're going to be looking at banner ads. And we're going to be talking about how to strategically improve the banner ads through some minor changes. And the key thing here in this title that you're going to see in a minute is the phrase minor changes. And because oftentimes it doesn't take a massive change to make a massive difference. Remember, we teach this in our courses. We're not optimizing banner ads, we're optimizing thought sequences. And so sometimes it's a small change that makes a massive difference in the thought sequence. We're going to see that with some of the case studies we have today, particularly looking at some of the case studies from Humana. And we actually have Mike Loveridge on the line from Humana, and he's going to be walking us through some of those case studies. Before we go there, just want to, again, we're doing this live because we want this to be a conversation. We have hundreds of marketers on the line right now, and the worst thing I want to do is just to get up and speak at you. Both Mike and I want to turn this into a dialogue. We want to talk about banners. And so if you have questions as we're going along, feel free to ask them. I'm going to be getting you to vote on certain pages. And so, what you can use, number one, you can use your question and answer feature provided by GoToWebinar. You might even just try to do a quick, if you've never done this before, just do a test send just to make sure you're getting it. You're right there on the button, ready to go with that. But also we have a kind of a public dialogue going around at #WebClinic for those of you who prefer and like to use Twitter. Both of those are being monitored, and so you can submit your questions, you can submit your comments that way. My name is Austin McCraw. I oversee kind of the content production here at MECLABS, which involves Marketing Experiments as well as the education stuff we have going on. And so I'm joined by Mike Loveridge, and Mike Loveridge he's going to introduce himself here in a minute. But in a few slides down the line, we're going to be talking to him about some of the key research he did at Humana. Now, let's get into banner ads. I want to jump straight into the actual content. Now, here's a test. Here's an experiment. It's test protocol 1145. At MarketingExperiments, we have the world's largest library of case studies and experiments, really trying to understand why people say yes. And here's just one of them. And this is one you may have seen. This is a kind of a classic experiment, but I want to show you 2 pages. Now, for those who haven't seen this test before, these are 2 pages. One of them is a control, one of them is a treatment, but I'm not going to tell you that. What you need to know is that the goal of this page was to increase the overall number of leads. And I want you to look at the design of these 2 pages and ask yourself, which of these pages do you think will do that? So here's one. Here's a page, kind of a standard page template, version A. There's no site banner. If you see this, it's just kind of almost a landing page style approach here. You've got kind of an objective-based headline. I'm not going to say too much. You can just look at the page on the right and just kind of absorb it and just think about what impact this might have on generating leads. Now I'm going to show you what we call here at Marketing Experiments a radical redesign. Oftentimes we're working with the researchers in our labs here at MECLABS, and we'll get a page really good, but then we'll create a page that's completely different, a variable cluster test, and radically change the approach to the page. That's what this is right here. And so what you got here is a page that has a site banner. It's got several things going on this page. Very, very attractive page, but you can see I don't want to say too much. I'm starting to get ahead of myself. I don't want to say too much. But look at these 2 pages side by side for a minute. Version A, version B, and ask yourself which of these do you think will generate the most response, the greatest amount of total leads. And what I want you to do right now is go ahead and just use your chat feature and vote. If you think version A is going to outperform, then type A. If you think version B is going to be the winner, put B. Now I'm watching your feedback come through, but just looking at these 2 pages, which do you think will generate the greatest response? I want to give you a minute on that. Using your Q&A feature, what do you think? Version A? Okay. Thanks, Ken. Wait, I can't, so let me just get that out of the way. So let's take the chat feature out of the way. Pulling it up right now. Give us 1 second. I saw lots of people voting. I can't see the votes right now. We're pulling the screen over. I want to give you a sense for kind of what people are saying, and just want to give you a sense of what your peers are saying before I reveal the results. So here they come. All right. So scroll up to the top, Ken. Let me just see these results as they come down. Just go take it all the way up to the top. All right. So I see. Okay. See, I see A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, 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 A. So it looks like, honestly, just trying to, again, there's no, I'm not tallying these up, but just looking at it, just cursory, it's a good 50-50% split on this page. What's great about this is, oftentimes we're in these conversations with our peers, and we have options like this in front of us, and we're trying to guess what's going to be best connected to the customer. The great thing about testing is that we don't have to guess. We can actually know the results. And in this case, actually version A generated the greatest response. In fact, it was a significant improvement over version B with a 155% increase in overall conversion. Now, this is interesting. First off, why would we be showing a page, particularly a page that has a banner, in a test in which it did not perform well, when this whole clinic is about banner ads? Here's why. Before we get into improving banners and some of the things we've learned about banners, what you need to know, and what every marketer on this line needs to know, is that banners are not a kind of an end-all be-all. Like, banners oftentimes underperform. Banners aren't always the most effective thing to use in your campaigns. And here's what I would want to ask you, and this is honestly the question that we all have to ask ourselves as marketers, because it's not just about getting results. We want results, but the way we get the results is understanding why. Like, why did this page outperform the other? Honestly, we had lots of experiments we could show you. I mean, there's actually, we test this all the time, and many times banners underperform. And here's the pattern that we're seeing. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but just to kind of set the tone, the first thing is, oftentimes with a banner, the page loses some of its personality. It loses, it becomes impersonal. It feels like you're just kind of, particularly on a page like this on the right, where you have this banner up at the top, you have the bottom three columns going on. It's kind of like walking into a store, and all of a sudden several people are kind of yelling at you at the same time. That's what happens with this. I mean, it does look pretty aesthetically, but to the customer it feels impersonal. It feels mechanical, where in version A it's a little bit more conversational. The other thing is the undirected eye path. I mean, if you look at trying to, where do you look in version B? Banners oftentimes, and particularly rotating banners, often disrupt that eye path and cause what we call friction here at MarketingExperiments. And then the other one, which maybe you would kind of intuitively know about, but maybe haven't thought about, is what do you do when you actually look at banners on web pages? Do you look at them, or do you skip them? Our research would indicate that actually we have, as marketers, because oftentimes there's ads in we call them banner ads, but oftentimes there's actually just like external ads in our banner space, either at the top or on the right-hand side or left-hand side. We have trained our customers to ignore those, and oftentimes banners suffer from what we call banner blindness. And so those three things often hinder the effectiveness of an actual banner. So I just want to lay the groundwork about that, but here's the real question. And here's maybe why many of you are jumping on the line. Maybe you would say to me, Austin, I get that. I've seen some of these experiments. I would love, if I could do anything, I would love to get rid of my banner. I'd love to take a radical approach like you did in that test. But you can't. You're either working within constraints, you're just given a section on the home page or whatever, and you have to work within a banner. And so the question becomes, okay, if you're in that situation, what do you do? How can we take that less than optimal situation and make the most of it? How can we optimize in the space of a banner? And this is the reason why we have Mike on the call today, because Mike found himself in this particular situation. I was just in Las Vegas with Mike talking to several hundred marketers about some of the story. I wanted to get him on this web clinic. But Mike, go ahead and introduce yourself for a minute and just give the audience a sense of kind of who you are, what you do, and the situation that you found yourself in with your banner optimization.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. Good to be on here today. So I'm based out of Louisville, Kentucky. That's where the Humana corporate offices are, and I've got a kayak and a dog, and then access to a high performance optimization team here at Humana. So life is good, and we're testing B2B, B2C, and a lot of different web properties and things to work with.
And so, Mike, you particularly, this is the page you were working on, and kind of just walk us through maybe some of the constraints you had and where you were focused on in your experimentation.
All right, thanks, Austin. So, yeah, this is a banner on Humana.com on the home page, and it's kind of a difficult type of banner spot to optimize for because this page has about 155, 170 different clickable items on there. So there's a lot of stuff to conflict, a lot of distractions, and then it's a rotating banner. And most tests out there will show you that rotating banners they're difficult because people just don't have a lot of time to assimilate what's going on. And kind of when the page loads and they're getting over that initial, what is going on this page kind of shock syndrome, and then the banner moves to something else and really distracts them. So this is a difficult spot to optimize.
Yeah, and I know a bit of your story, and it's actually really fascinating because you have this concept around this kind of super test concept, which we're not going to get into today. But you essentially, how many tests did you run on this particular banner? Just kind of estimating there.
Probably about 20 to 30 different tests, and you figure you get a lot of traffic on the home page, so you might as well utilize it. And when we were putting together tests on other sections of the page, then we would just go right back to that banner and just keep hitting that thing.
That's actually a really excellent point. I know as frustrating as it can be to have to test some banners, they're oftentimes on home pages, and therefore you get a lot of the most traffic there, and so it becomes really easy to test and to run tests quickly and get results relatively quickly. So that's a really, really good point. What we're going to do, audience, with the rest of this web clinic is we've kind of taken these tests, we've looked at them, and we've combined it with our research here at MECLABS, and we've kind of extrapolated 3 key things. So if you're stuck optimizing a banner, you have that space. We've identified 3 kind of key principles that you want to keep in mind, things that you can maybe make some even minor tweaks to your banner to improve the performance. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. If we have enough time, we actually have some of your own pages submitted with banners that we'll be looking at together. But I want to dive right into the first principle. And one of the things that we see in our experimentations, and Mike's going to walk us through one in a minute, is that the banners that are most effective are those that are not focused on many things, but rather the one thing. Generally, what we find is that the more options, the more disorienting it becomes on a page, and particularly a home page. What we find in our research here is that when people land on a page, and particularly a home page, you have about 7 seconds to help them understand not only where they are, but what they can do on this actual page. So where am I? What can I do here? And if you have a lot of things going on in the banner, that can oftentimes create confusion around those questions. And so, Mike, why don't you walk us through kind of this first test that you started with where you saw that exact thing?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one side comment first. I think you can learn a lot about how to optimize for banners just by looking at billboards when you're on the freeway driving around, because you look, you get a quick glance, and then you have to look back at the road so that you don't wreck your car. And when you're looking at, there are good billboards and bad billboards, and the things that make good billboards are often the things that make good banners. And one of those is that, like this one that you're seeing on screen, you've got 6 seconds to look at this thing before it flips to something else. And do you really get what's going on here in 6 seconds? You've got a title that you have to read, a bunch of supporting copy, and then where's the CTA? It's a little text link underneath. So kind of difficult to catch everything that's going on. And then also you have to ask yourself, is the image really consistent with what the users want to see. And in this case, we were doing a test here during the spring, and we have winter grandma there with her coat on, looking like she's freezing.
So what did you test against this control?
Yeah, so we went with a kind of a more spring summer image, Clint Eastwood lookalike, which people seem to appreciate that, especially in this demographic for some reason. You notice we simplified the title, simplified the supporting text, and then we've got a clear CTA that really stands out and it's action oriented. You know what you're getting when you click on that. So you can really grab this in 6 seconds, and even less if you just look at the title. And people are looking for Medicare, and they see that word Medicare, and they know that, oh, that's it, click, that's where I want to get.
That's excellent. You can see these 2 pages, audience, side by side, and clearly see the reduction in amount of information to bring that kind of, we're focusing the audience, we're focusing the prospects on a key thing, and that shift for Mike generated a 433% increase in overall click-through on this ad. Mike, in terms of, this is one of the first tests you run, what kind of impact did that have on you and your team?
Yeah, this one wasn't rocket science, because it was the first one and there was so much low-hanging fruit, but it did a lot for just generating confidence and getting people excited so that the business would want us to continue testing in this space.
Yeah, and again, I could show you a lot of tests with this, but here's just another example of that, and this is a common approach when it comes to banner ads. You have all this copy, all this headline, you're trying to jam so much into it, and I think what happens with us when we do this is we only have so much space, and we have so much we want to say. As marketers, what I would encourage you to do is resist that kind of temptation to throw everything you possibly can into the little space that you have. Focus, dedicate your banner ad to kind of one key thing. And you can see what we did here with this. I mean, there's still a lot of things going on, but it's simpler. We only have one call to action. The copy has been reduced basically like 50%. The image makes more sense, and it's actually an engaging image, which we'll talk about in our third point a little bit later. And overall, this generated a 59% increase in overall conversion, not just click through from the ad, but all the way through the process in terms of conversion. So that's kind of the first principle as it relates to banner ads. And I'm looking at some of the comments and some of the questions, and Mike, here's a question for you, and I think it's from Joy, and we can talk about this a little later. But from all the banner ad testing that you did, obviously we're going to see a lot of the results. But what was kind of because I know you didn't just do banner testing, but you also did lower funnel testing. What was just give a picture of the overall results from your experimentation, and then we'll move on to the second principle.
The overall results are that you test a lot, and even if you're getting small gains, those things really add up. So, and then the learnings that you get as well. Even if you get a small conversion gain on something, you get 3 or 4 learnings that you can use to put together your next test. So it's just the best learning is just test a lot, as much as you possibly can.
Excellent, excellent. Here's the second principle, audience. So our banners, we'll get them dedicated and focused on the one thing. We also need to get them aligned with the motivation of the user. Effective banners do not focus on what we want from the customer, but rather what the customer wants from us. This is a simple principle that we say all the time. We just find it time after time on our experimentation. When we make that slight shift, pulling ourselves out of kind of our mindset and putting ourselves into the customer mindset, that has the potential to generate a lot of results. Now, this gets pretty nuanced when it comes to banner ads, because you're dealing with a very interesting place in the motivation spectrum. And so, Mike, quickly walk us through kind of this experiment and kind of what you saw about the motivations for this particular banner.
Yeah, this one was a bit more subtle. So, you're talking about exploring Medicare plans. So something that's exploration-based, your copy kind of ties to that, where it's research driven, and then your CTA was talking about starting a customer journey. So talking about someone that wants to research, and people internally, they like that. They love this. This is what we've been using for a long time, this kind of verbiage.
That's actually a really good point. And you shifted this verbiage, and I honestly say this is, looking at some of you in our experimentation, it's a pretty risky shift to go from explore, which seems a little bit lower commitment, to something like shop. What was your rationale in terms of how did you think that was going to connect better to the motivations of the prospects?
We realized that we have a small selling season from October 15th through December 7th, where the majority of the Medicare traffic is hitting the site. And they have that time period where they just need to make a decision and move on with their lives, so there's no messing around. And so going from explore to just shop and get your business done, we figured that was more in line with what the consumer was thinking about and what they were motivated to do.
Yeah, and so I want to, so that's really interesting. And the results on that side by side, just the shift from this open kind of more laid back explore to a more kind of engaged shop, that generated 192% increase in overall click-through. Now, audience, again, this is about understanding the motivation. So the motivation particularly for Mike's audience in this season is not necessarily the motivation for yours. We actually find, it's interesting, when Mike showed us this test, we actually often find the opposite movement more effective, going from something like buy now or shop in the banner to learn more or get more information or get started now. For instance, here's a test, and this is just one, where we actually went from start free trial, which has kind of a high commitment aspect there with the free trial, to get started now, which is the actual same copy language in the call to action that Mike's underperforming treatment had. And so, what's going on here? And this is, if you can get one thing from this clinic, and it's nuanced, but you can get one thing from this clinic, it's this idea of connecting or aligning with the customer motivation. In the banner, you're making an ask, and the level of ask that you require from the customer, it depends on where they are. Are they low motivated or are they high motivated? Are they ready to buy or are they just exploring or just checking out options? Generally speaking, for website banners, for the average marketer, it's generally in this range. It's not, you're early in the funnel. It's, the homepage is almost an extension of the channel. And so people are just kind of exploring and getting to know you and trying to figure out where to go. And so usually the asks are often lower. And even in this range, so in this kind of sliver of range, lower motivation, some, you can get away with some ask over others. And so if you can see, on the left-hand side, if it's lower on this spectrum, you're talking about using words like learn more or focusing on, getting more information. You can, in some cases, and particularly in Mike's case, because of the season, get away with things like try demo or shop or start or, words that imply kind of a greater ask. And so what you have to do as a marketer is understand, try to get into the shoes, into the skin of your customer and understand where they are in the motivations and directly align your ask to that. And so that's the second principle. The third and final principle is this notion of interactive or interaction, okay? This might be one of the most interesting kind of discoveries from our lab and discoveries from what Mike's about to show you, is that the most effective banners, you're not treating them like an advertisement, like Mike's saying, a billboard that's meant to just be read and absorbed, but rather they're treated as an invitation to engage. And so oftentimes we will completely debunk the category of banner and turn it into something that's interactive or engaging, and I can show you a lot of tests for that. But Mike, walk us through where you saw this principle at play in your own testing as well.
Yeah, will do. Again, thinking about the banner is just something to kind of set the tone. It's kind of directing traffic. It gets that initial engagement that just kind of gets you in the door, gets you excited. So, it needs to feel good, and it needs to just get you moving. Just take that first step. So, here we're starting with the winner from the last experiment, where it's just getting people to shop and getting them moving there. And then we tested something against a banner that one of these really expensive famous agencies wanted to try, and they wanted something where they wanted to be more of a feely kind of brand sort of thing, and they wanted it to it was brand oriented. So you've got something that it's not directional and it is salesy, and the CTA isn't as explicit, and then you've got, this little text underneath the CTA, kind of a disclaimer, and then, not to mention the image. I'm not really sure, why you pick, a guy that looks like he's in serious pain and has a spray tan, but that's what we were going with there. So.
Yeah, no offense to this, gentleman in the picture. Joy brings out something as well here. She says, "How many times can you say stick in a banner ad?" If you look at that, it's mentioned over and over again. And so I do like, and kudos to you, Mike, for this, is that you had your winner in this. I think I actually have them side by side. Yep. So you had your image, your winner control, and you didn't just stick with that. Like, you kept testing, you kept iterating, you even brought outside opinions in to try to beat your control. I love that kind of aggressive desire to discover and learn and even challenge your own assumptions. But at the end of the day, what you saw was, believe it or not, it was the simpler, more focused, more actionable, clearer call to action, clearer engagement banner that wasn't focused on just trying to kind of do this woolly brand creative approach, but just more of a direct approach win. And we see this a lot in our experimentation. Here's just a classic one we've shown before. This is the headline, "You can't be too careful." I often ask audiences, just having that, do you even know what, just that headline, do you even know what they are? Do you even know what they're selling? And I get a lot of creative answers. It's a creative headline. And we just tested a more straightforward, just engaging, interactive, get your quote approach, and it generated a significant improvement in overall response. Now, I'm going to show you one more test that I think I want to kind of challenge our assumptions for a minute, because one way to increase interaction and engagement is to kind of get out of the clouds, get out of the creative, and just be clear, like what we saw in the last two examples. But here's a completely different way to do it. And here's an ad right here that is, and this is classic, I see this all over, it's a banner, but it's just an image, and you got your nice, cute, clever alliteration, energy, exploration, and extraction. It's a bunch of wasted space. And people don't even know what they can do with it or how to use it. Oftentimes we have banners that aren't even clickable. We don't even know, can we click them? When we hover over to discover that we actually click them. We took this banner and completely changed its approach. First, we added some copy that brought in some more information, but we used the space to ask the audience to do something. We didn't waste the space. And there's a lot of things I can say about this ad, but the big shift here, and I could show you a lot of tests with this, is perhaps you should consider turning your banner into something that's more engaging, not just a billboard that you're just rotating through or just slapping on your web page. And so just wanted to throw that out there. It ultimately generated, the goal was downloads. It generated 245% more of those by being just interaction there, or adding interaction in that top space. So I have a checklist for you. So that's the 3 principles. A quick checklist for you to think through your own banner ads. You can take away. You'll get these slides in this video in a week from us, but you could even just take a snag of this screen right now if you wanted to, or a snippet of this screen. But is the banner? These are some questions I want you to be thinking at as we look at some of the pages we're about to look at. Is the site banner the best choice for my page? Should we even have a site banner? Some of you can ask that, some of you can't, but that's a question we should start with. Is my banner simple and concise? Is my banner aligned to the motivation of my customer? Can my prospect determine the banner's purpose at a glance? Is the CTA clear? Is there a CTA at all? Does my banner provide the opportunity for engagement? Am I interacting with them? And does my banner send prospects in a direction that matches where they should be going in the next step that connects to motivation? What I wanted to do with the few minutes that we had left is I wanted to do some live optimization. Now, I'm being told by the group I've got 5 minutes left. Now, if you need to check out at 5 minutes, that is fine. There will be a replay of this made available. I'm going to try to squeeze as much value, especially since we have Mike on the line. So we'll just maybe go over a little bit, but for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to be looking at actual pages and trying to cash in what we just learned. I'm not going to be able to get to all the pages that you guys submitted, but what we have done per request from our audience is we have set up a completely different webinar. I believe it's, is it a full 60? So full 60 minutes, full hour, where all we do is look at pages. And so if you want to see us kind of take this to the next level, to theory, and put it in application, you can sign up for this webinar now and submit your own banners. That's the thing, you know. We're going to look at a few today. You can, you know, if we don't get to yours today, you can resubmit it for this webinar. Oftentimes we get to look at quite a few examples, and I'll have a panel of experts here from MECLABS kind of contributing to that dialogue. All right, without further ado, audience, here is the first page we'll be looking at in the first banner. Now we're just focusing on the banner here. The primary audience is physicians and physicians in training. And the goal here is to get them to kind of enroll. It's to give them information to lead them to enrollment. And it was submitted by A-Line. How you say it? A-Line. Sorry if I'm butchering your name there. But just looking at this page, audience, real fast, based on what we've seen in the experiments, not just from Humana, but from some of the other ones I looked at today, where do you think the biggest place for improvement lies for A-Line? All right, A-Line, listen, and you're on the call. Is that you, A-Line, on the call? Let me know if it is. It'd be great to know that's you. Awesome, she's on the call, guys. Here's some of the feedback, A-Line, you're getting from your co-marketers. Where's the CTA? No call to action, missing call to action. Oh my goodness, I think everyone at this point has said call to action. Okay, winner, good. No call to action. What else do you see? I want you guys to be, go ahead and put in your comments. I'm going to go ahead and let Mike, based on his experimentation and experience, Mike, where would you start in terms of your testing process on a banner like this?
Yeah, I think the comment for CTA is spot on. That would be the first thing. Second thing would be, if you're looking for leads, then ask for leads in the title. Make that relate. And then, maybe the third thing would be just doing something with the image, maybe to humanize it and put pictures of people or something like that make folks feel a little more comfortable and so forth when they're going to give some information or whatever for a lead.
Yeah, and I see a comment from Paige, and she says overall this banner, and I think it's a good word she uses for this banner. This banner is stale. It is not compelling. It's even kind of difficult to read with the font choice and the all caps. And then when you actually persevere through that, you see this question: what's your financial focus this RRSP season? There's no value communicated in that. There's actually you're asking them about them, and you're not really giving them even a place to answer that question. And so if I'm a customer looking at this page, I have to spend a lot of effort reading that headline, and I get very little value. Now you start to get into some value in that line underneath. The problem is your customer line is going to skip that whole line. We have your financial best interest at heart. Okay, there are a lot of people that would say a similar statement like that. It's going to be skipped, but for the people who read it, they're going to go, first off, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? There's very little clarity, very little specificity. We have your financial interest at heart. Okay, I get that, but you don't even know who I am. You don't even know my interest. You're going to have to get a little bit more specific about what you mean by that. So that's the first thing. So you have very little appeal because there's very little clarity about what that means. The second thing is you're making a qualitative statement about yourself, which I don't believe. So you're suffering from not only clarity and basically appeal for this, but you have no credibility. Help me believe this. I want to believe this. I want someone out there who has my financial interest, at their heart. Okay, but I don't believe you, especially since you're saying it about yourself. What specific things can you say that will make me believe that? Maybe it's some of that copy that's underneath the ad that's being completely skipped. Maybe someone else could say something for you, a testimonial, verification. Maybe there's a way to quantify how many people that you're helping, with their financial focus. There's several ways you can do it. You can be specific, you can quantify, or you can bring in someone else to speak. The other thing, and I don't have time to do this, but the images, first off, it's really hard. It's like you're trying to be, again, you're going for, it's like a half attempt at creativity. You've got this kind of the beep thing, and you got kind of a telescope. Don't really even know what that means. The image is completely wasted here. You have taken 30 or 40% of the page, and it is not useful. So, and I don't want to be harsh, but I'll give you this freedom. This is the kind of banner ad that you don't necessarily have to feel like you have to save. okay? You don't have to tweak it to perfection. Listen, just start over, okay? Take this banner and just, get a sheet of paper and just rewrite this. Take a completely different approach to this banner ad. And I would say, connect to the, and Mike, I don't know, I'm going to give you a second to say something if you have something else to add, but just my final thoughts are, give them a real reason. Don't just ask them a question. Give them a reason why they should think you're the company that has their financial interest at their heart. Mike, did you have any other thoughts?
No, I think you covered all of it there. That was well done.
Awesome. Now I'm being told by my team, if you're, you guys are welcome to stick around. We're going to do one more page together. But if you have to go, again, that webinar, if you want to do more live optimization like this, it will be next Thursday. You can go to MECLABS.com/live-opt, OPT, to sign up for that. Mike, let's look at one more together. This is the AMA, and this is their kind of site, kind of banner at the top. And audience, for those who are, thanks Eileen, you're a good sport, appreciate that feedback. But audience, before Mike and I say anything, in terms of direction, in terms of alignment, in terms of interaction, where do you think this ad has the greatest potential for increasing response? Take a look at it. What do you think about this? Now, the goal here is enrollments and renewals, and it was submitted by Sarah, and the target is travelers, so you should be able to relate to this. I'm going to let your comments come in for a minute. I have, so Paul, he says, consider removing one call to action. Compare membership stands out way more, okay, yep. So, yep, because the blue is getting blended in there. Julie says, bullet the subhead benefits so they're easier to see. So Paige says, put the paragraph text in more chunkable format, like bullets. It's very similar to what Julie said. Andy says, overall not bad. Replace copy under the headline with something more impactful. Andy, that's a good statement, but I would actually, just for the sake of Sarah, what would you add that would be more impactful? Align, yes, you're jumping in here. Good. Some less copy, perhaps, on this. Good. So a lot of good feedback. I see you guys are getting this. You're grasping this. This is awesome. I'm eager for next Thursday when we can do this a little more. But Mike, in the couple minutes that we have left, if there was one thing that you could test, what would you test?
Yeah, I'd say I'm glad you used this example because this actually has some really good curb appeal when you first look at it. There's a lot of really great things about this banner. But again, looking at the page purpose, new enrollments and renewals. You have a CTA that focuses on renewals. You've got one that focuses on enrollments, but it's kind of unclear that it's talking about enrollments. And then you have a title and supporting text that is not as directly related to those two calls of action and the purpose of the page as I'd like to see. So I'd say that this banner ad is going to sell a lot of roadside assistance, but it needs to be more focused on renewing and getting people to enroll in plans. And so the main thing I would test is just changing out that title and supporting text. Good.
And so Sarah, the one thing that I would say, I totally agree with what Mike's saying and some of the feedback here from the audience. If you reach out to us, Sarah, we can send you some of the comments here on your page. Just one thing, the headline, and you got to think about it this way. The headline immediately focuses on the cost associated with this thing. You're going to get roadside assistance for $8 a month. Now you're introducing cost way before you've even communicated some of the value. Some of the key value that you have in this banner is in that paragraph. Now I agree the paragraph is too much. It either needs to be reduced, probably both of this need to be reduced and bulleted out. Maybe there's some icons you can bring into that. You definitely, two calls to action is going to be and I mean, it's going to be mitigating conversion in some sense, and particularly people are going to, if you want them to renew, they're not going to see that one as much. The biggest change though is bring some of that value in the smaller copy into the headline. Focus on what they get. Remember, this is about motivation. This is about alignment. Don't focus on what you want from them. You want the $8 a month from them. Focus on what they get for that. They get 5 roadside calls a year, including towing and battery boost. They get 24/7, 365 days. You get all of this stuff, and then, and maybe not even in the banner, but after you set the ground with that value, then you can introduce the actual cost. So there's, there's a lot of things that are positive about this banner, Sarah, but there's a few strategic changes that you can make, few minor changes that potentially could have a significant improvement in this banner. So I am done. We're going to stop here. Sarah, you're on the line. Thank you so much for your feedback. That is good. We can get you some of the comments from the audience. Audience, I hope you found this very helpful. AV, you guys can take me to my slides here. Yeah, so audience, hope you found this very helpful. Our desire here is to, we have really a 7-word mission. We just want to discover what really works. And our desire is to build a community of marketers and business leaders who are desirous to better understand their customer. And we do that through testing. We do that through just engaging with the customer. And so hopefully you found this call valuable. If, one of the things that we're trying to optimize here is not just our web pages, but we want to optimize this webinar. So we have this little survey at the end of this. We really value your feedback. So as you exit out of this call, when you see that survey pop up, if you could fill it out and let us know what you liked, what you would like to see in other clinics, etc. I hope I see many of you on the webinar, the live opposition webinar next Thursday. It's going to be really fun. Those are always really fun. You never know what's going to happen, what kind of pages show up. Guys, there's lots of things and a lot of people to think. I'm in a green room studio here. I'm surrounded by probably 10, 15 people that are just engaged in putting this on. I have a whole team of AV staff. So I just want to say thank you to all you guys part of this. Mike, I want to say thank you for being on this call. Love your test. I love what you're doing at Humana, and I hope to see you on one of these clinics in the future very, very, very soon. So thank you, man.
Thanks, Austin.
Absolutely. Well, audience, that is it. We will see you back here in a few weeks if you're not jumping on the webinar next week. Thank you very much.